today I have a bunch of 3-rotor updates for you. Some good, some not so good, but that's building cars, am I right? First, I would like to show you guys some new posters I just dropped as well. I have 100 of these that I'm dropping. I'm gonna be signing them. I'm really excited because I really haven't been launching anything, and I'm starting with some posters. The first one is of the 3-rotor car. It's of a shoot that I did at Race Service a while ago. I love all the aesthetics happening in this. They're actually really large as well and super high quality. So it took me a while to kind of find a place that could do them, but here we go. And I'm really excited to finally have something, because I know a lot of you have been sending me messages about where to get stuff or sign photos or anything like that. And I have another one that I'm also only doing 100 of, and I'm signing all of them. And this one is my Sailor 7 launch event poster. This is also taken at Race Service by an amazing photographer who shoots for Super Street a lot. This has always been one of my favorite photos of that car. So of course I wanted to turn it into a super big, high quality poster. And sending them out to you. And speaking of both of those cars, here's Sailor 7. What's up, girl? She got kind of all of her body panels off at the moment just to make pulling her in and out easier. So what's up? Here is Sailor, and here is the 3-rotor car. Oh man, do I have some news for you guys. I'm gonna start by saying that I really thought we would be starting the car up and hitting the dyno this week. We did run into some things which keeps happening with this build, and for a long time I've had to build a thick skin and not let little roadblocks get me down, because that is part of car building. And what we're doing here with this car has never been done before. There is no setup like this. The combination of everything, like every single thing almost on the car, has been replaced except for the front and rear subframes and rear knuckles. Really, like almost every single thing, you know, we've had to figure out from scratch and make a ton of custom parts and figure it out as we go. I'm just trying to emphasize that because this car has been one of the craziest journeys of my life. We are so close to hitting the dyno. Like I said, I thought I'd be doing that this week a few days ago, but we ran into a few things. Now, the list of things that we're getting stuck on has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, so I'm staying motivated. I want to give you guys an update because I am leaving for Florida in a day or two, but there has been work done on this car and things we've been doing behind the scenes that I just haven't really been fully vlogging, because I just really have been trying to push this car and not focus on like videoing all the time, just focus on the build and grind. I'm gonna hurry up and get to what we figured out and what were some of the roadblocks that we are now addressing for the 3-rotor. One of the things that we just discovered was that my flywheel or starter is incorrect for the setup. Now, I'm running the 20B to a QuickTime bell housing to my G-Force GSR transmission, and I'm pretty sure there's only one starter you're like supposed to run with QuickTime. If I'm being honest, I just haven't been able to get them on the phone to clarify that or clarify any other aftermarket options. And I'm pretty sure, and from asking around, with this specific bell housing, you're supposed to use the Turbo 2 starter, which is what I have on this car. Now, only because we've now gotten to the point where we can test crank the car, and we thought we were going to be turning on for the first time. It was at that moment that we realized that this starter is not meshing with the flywheel. Now, I'm pretty sure the starter is correct for the bell housing, which means that we have to get a new flywheel that is meant for it. I do have video of what's happening, so I'm going to play that now. video, you can just tell that the flywheel is not the correct tooth amount for that specific starter. The starter is actually getting stuck in the flywheel, and it makes the most atrocious grinding noise ever. Right now, I'm number one, just trying to 100 million% confirm that that is the starter I'm supposed to be running with the QuickTime bell housing, and number two, figure out my flywheel situation and getting that remade, or seeing if there's an aftermarket starter that I can just put on here based off what flywheel I have. So that's the situation right now. I'm either gonna have to change the starter or change the flywheel. So problem number one that we are currently addressing, it's fine, it's not like it's catastrophic, we know what the issue is, and now we're taking the right steps forward to make a decision, wait on parts, and go forward from there. Another thing that I found out, and this one I'm pretty bummed about actually. Another thing that I found out is that the driver's side spindle is bent. Now, I don't know if I ever put this in a video, but I already went through this on the passenger side. So before, I had already replaced this passenger side rear spindle. That's why this one is painted and the one over there is not. So this was already replaced. It was not fun, solely because it's not like, oh, just replace it, swap in a new one. RH7 FCs have what's called rear steer, which is basically at high speed, it allows the rear of the car, the hub, to search for grip, and it allows the wheel to slightly move left and right to grip up in high speed situations. It's kind of like a safety thing, you could say. So one of the first things you do if you get an FC chassis and trying to go drifting is do a rear steer delete bushing. So that rear steer delete bushing is on this spindle, and it is right here. So it's not as easy as just swapping in a new one. You just have to press out the rear steer delete and reinstall it. How this got bent initially and why I had to replace this one is because I think when we were pressing in the rear steer delete, it slightly moved the spindle. Boom, everything is offset. Caliper won't sit right, the brakes are dragging, problematic, not gonna work. So we were extra cautious when we got a new one and repressed it in. And now I'm realizing that this side has the same issue from the same exact mistake. So please, if you're doing this, be extra cautious, be extra aware of kind of what you're putting the weight on or how you're pressing it in there, because that can really screw up everything. And now I'm realizing that this one as well needs to be replaced. And to be safe, Abel does not want to tune the car with no brakes, so we 100% need to get that working before we can go to dyno. So that's another thing. I'm trying to find a driver's side rear spindle so that I can swap that on and replace it for this side so that the brakes are no longer dragging and we can get the full system bled and working. That was problem number two that, again, I'm sourcing a part for now and going to have to figure that out. Once I get the part, it's not going to be that complicated, but that's just another thing that we noticed when kind of going through our final check in terms of getting the car ready for the dyno. I was actually at Abel's shop earlier this week doing things to prep for dyno day as well. There were a few more places on the block that needed to be blocked off with specific fittings. Just generally having Abel go over sensors, plug into the ECU, and do some checkovers is what the agenda was that day. I also was able to put in engine oil. I went through all the fittings and made sure everything was tight. We have a lot of hard lines on this car, so I was able to go through that at Abel's, and I made an extension for the water pump. This was just supposed to be a temporary one to get the car started. An extension for the power for the water pump. Like that day, I fully thought I was going to have the car start up for the very first time. And it was on 7's day. Once we checked over everything, we got fluid in the car, got power to the water pump, we checked over all the places that needed to be blocked off, we made an additional block off plate, did all of these things, and I thought I was gonna hear the car for the first time, and that's all I freaking wanted, okay? We got engine oil in it, you know, I'm ready to go, I'm amped up. I literally almost had like an anxiety attack. So like I was living it, and I thought we were about to start it.
Okay,
That's weird. I wonder why I'd be reading weird.
Crank it.
Are you sure?
Wait.
Oh my, wait.
Go make sure there's no oil leaks, John.
I'm sorry, dude?
Go make sure there's no oil leaks. Go ahead. Yeah, just press it.
Oh my gosh!
Go.
I don't. It's not doing anything.
Huh?
Oh my gosh, I had an anxiety attack.
Yeah, it's not doing nothing.
Can you call Richie? And right when we were gonna go to start it, the freaking starter wasn't working. And that was a big buzzkill. Unfortunately, all of the wiring on this car, well, unfortunately and fortunately, all the wiring on this car is mil-spec. So without the person who did the wiring present, we were not able to figure out why the car wasn't starting. And just kind of decided to call it then. I didn't want to risk anything just because I really wanted to hear the car in that moment. Anyway, fast forward to now, Nick's actually been over at my shop for a couple days. Again, just going through the car, you can never be too safe. While he was here, we did notice that there was clutch fluid coming out of the bell housing because the lines for the internal sleeve were not tight. And oh my gosh, guys, to tighten 2 lines on an FC chassis, that was probably the most work for such a small thing I think I have ever done, ever. And I will admit it that one of the most frustrating things I think about working on an FC chassis is definitely the way that the rear is engineered. So let me just walk you through the process of, hey, we noticed 2 clutch lines inside the bell housing. We're not tight, right? God tighten them. Now you think, hey, let's just drop the transmission. Let's just get those lines all nice and tight, just do that. But an FC chassis said no. FC chassis, with the way it's swapped, was gonna make our life a lot harder. So in order to get the drive shaft out, you can't just take it out. Oh no, she's gonna make you work for it, right? The subframe is blocking the room that you would need to drop this. So the first thing we had to do is drop the subframe, but then you also have to drop the diff because everything is connected. And after you drop all of this, then you can struggle, get the drive shaft out, and only then can you take the transmission out to then get behind this bell housing. And only then could we tighten our 2 lines. That was fun. We had to do that. Huge shout out and thank you to Nick for bearing through all of that with me. I think his friend has an FC chassis, so he's like kind of familiar with all the little quirks of FC. Oh my god. That's impressive. Hashtag R7 FC life. So we did that. We were able to just go through everything again, make sure everything was tight, double, triple check it, make sure all the lines were good. Things take time, and that's car building, and I've had so much patience with this build. We've been through a lot. I know I'm on the right path, and I know there's light at the end of the tunnel, and we are so close. There's just little things like what I've mentioned that have come up, but guess what? We are taking care of them. So I'm going to lower the car so I can show you the rest of the stuff that we worked on. Another big thing that we had to engineer and figure out was the throttle body, throttle cable situation. Okay, let me show you. I also worked with Nick to figure out this throttle piece right here. We ended up having to weld in some spacers to get this working at the angle that it was supposed to be, held right with this, and using a small piece from my other car that had the specific keyway that this stud has in it so that everything moves in unison. Figuring out this entire throttle body, throttle cable system, mechanism, and how it was gonna work was another big project and thing that we checked off the list. I will end up having to make my own custom table just because I think this is from a Honda, I don't know. This is from some random car, and it is really, I don't know how to describe the feeling. It's not good, it's not smooth, it's really like gritty and has tension on it inside the table itself when you're on and off the gas. Yes, it works right now. It would work for dyno, but in terms of response, it doesn't feel good. So now that we have this mechanism, you know, designed with the bracket and how it's gonna work, we got these pieces welded with the spacers and we know what we're doing. Now that I have the measurement of everything, I'll be able to make a custom throttle table exactly for my setup. This was huge. Shout out to Knit for pulling some all-nighters and helping me figure this out as well. When we were at Abel's and we weren't able to crank the car, we ended up figuring out when looking at the car back at my shop that the actual momentary switch for starting the car was just pinned wrong. Like there was a pin that was like going the wrong way and it wasn't making the right connection, so that's why the momentary switch just wasn't engaging, therefore not turning on the starter at all. So luckily it's not some big catastrophic thing, and that is figured out. So now this is ready to go, which I feel like I always freak out about wiring stuff and worry that it's some big catastrophic thing, and thankfully this was just the momentary switch pinned wrong and not making the correct connection. So we also figured that out at my shop, so that is a crisis averted and we are good to go there. I do want to show you how fancy all the lights look though when the power is on, letting you guys know that this girl is about to come to life. We are so close. Here we go, we got the on, boom. Look guys, we have power. And yes, you're reading it correctly. We got lights, we got party lights, we got a light bar. Are they on the car yet? No, but is the car ready for it? Yes, as this car is ready to party soon. Hey, you hear that? That's a satisfying button click, I'm not gonna lie. We got my Adaptronic M6000 down there ready to go. Again, full mil spec and contained harnessing, and I'm getting prepared for this hot weather right now. I got my cool suit in here. This is actually from my rallycross car years ago, and I am sure glad that I saved this thing now with how hot it's been lately. I think those are all the updates. You know, that's where I'm at with this build. Am I disappointed that I couldn't start it and just hear those glorious semi-peripheral ported 3-rotor sounds this week? Yeah. Of course, I've been putting every single thing that I got into this car. So many people have devoted their time and energy and blood, sweat, tears to this build. Like it's the biggest build that I've ever done and have been working on. And it definitely wasn't an easy path. I didn't choose a platform that everyone else does. I'm not doing what everyone else does. So, you know, a lot of this stuff we're figuring out for the first time and having to create from the ground up. I know all of the struggle, all of the learning and everything that I've been through for this car is 100% going to be worth it. And we will be hearing the most glorious 3-rotor noises very, very soon.